Fans new to the Melee scene were probably pretty confused seeing that a player named Fiction had upset Wizrobe and finished 9th at the Big House 8 seemingly out of nowhere, but veterans who remember him as 2014's 17th best player saw this as just an inevitable return to form. So to enlighten those who heard Fiction's name for the first time recently, and to refresh the memories of those who have been around since his heyday, let's take a look back at Fiction's career. Fiction started his Smash career in 2008 not with Melee, but with Brawl, where he got destroyed at the first tournament he attended after beating all of his friends. The classic story. But luckily for him, Brawl had a thriving net play community that he was able to use to play match after match from home that slowly allowed him to become one of, if not the best Wario main in the world. Despite the fact that his Brawl career only spanned about 2 years, Fiction had a handful of notable performances in the time period, like 1st at Winter Game Fest 4, 7th at Genesis, and 5th at Brawl's final appearance at EVO in 2009. But slowly Fiction became bored with the game, and felt that he had nearly reached the cap for technical improvement in Brawl. Fiction still wanted to compete, and he saw Melee as a much more technically intensive and interesting game, where his abilities from Brawl would be able to carry over, so it was an obvious choice to switch over to Melee. The changes between the two titles did take a bit of time to adjust to, but Fiction quickly became a top competitor in Melee with his Fox. He says that his experience in Brawl did help him perform better specifically in slower, less combo-heavy matchups like against Samus or Luigi. And on Melee's first ever top 100 rankings in 2013, Fiction appeared as the 31st best player in the world, sitting a spot behind legendary Falco player DeShizWiz and 4 spots behind future top 6 member Plup. And from there he just kept climbing, taking 2 sets off of Mewtwo King in 2014 and finishing 7th at Apex 2014 over players like Amsa, Axe, and Silent Wolf that culminated in him ending the year as the 17th best player in the world. But this would be the rank ceiling for Fiction, as although 2015 did mark him taking a set off of Mango at Mayhem May, it also brought with it hand pains that forced him to almost exclusively switch over to Marth. With that, his blossoming career as a game developer, and other personal issues, Fiction's attendance slowly became more and more scarce, with his 38th rank in 2015 being the last time he's met the attendance requirements for a ranking. But this year, the stars have finally aligned again for Fiction to have enough time to seriously compete. There have been a few road bumps for him this year, both inside and outside the game, but Fiction is back now, and he says he's completely certain that his peak in Melee is still yet to come. And that about brings us to 2018. This year Fiction has already attended more events than the last 3 years of his career combined, which includes a ton of locals, so we won't have time to go over every single event, so let's just focus on the 7 most important ones, starting with Genesis 5. Fiction's Genesis 5 performance was a pretty forgettable one, but it was the first major tournament he had attended since EVO 2017, 7 months earlier. So while it's not a highlight in of itself, be sure to keep this performance in mind moving forward. Next up is Newts, which took place a week after Genesis 5 and basically told the same story for Fiction. He's still got the fundamentals that made him such a good player back in the day, but he's got a long road back to his peak. And just a couple of months later in March at the Mango, Fiction showed a significant leap in improvement by taking a couple of top 100 wins. It's important to note that many consider most of the sets at the Mango to have an asterisk next to them because many of the attendees were intoxicated, but standing toe-to-toe with some of Melee's best players was still a huge step in a positive direction for Fiction's return. And after a summer of grinding, Fiction started to hit his stride at Show Me Your Moves 19 on September 1st by taking home 1st place. He won convincing sets over the gauntlet of Fox mains thrown in his path, with Champagne's young star Zamo being the only one to take him to Game 5. This run itself pretty much guaranteed Fiction a top 100 spot by the end of the year, and he wasn't even close to matching his old form yet. His road back to top 50 continued at the Roast of Hugo, where he added Captain Face role to his resume, as well as taking another set off his newly found doubles partner, Absent Page. Losing to Santi isn't bad by any means, but that combined with his losses to Rocky and Ginger early in the year could potentially be a sign of a problem matchup for him. The week after the Roast, Fiction added another first placing at a local under his belt at Emerald City. Absent Page does appear to have closed the gap a bit between them, but he was still not able to take a single set off of him. And most recently we have Fiction's 9th place finish at the Big House 8, where he pulled off an absolutely insane upset over Wizrobe. This crazy run came close to earning him an invite to Summit 7 as well, but after 2 heartbreaking Game 5 losses to Bananas and Axe, he fell 1 win short. And so that wraps up Fiction's year so far that could already see him being in contention to be considered a top 50 or even a top 30 player yet again, with him still having 2 more months to continue on his current hot streak. As of the release of this video, Fiction is currently running a campaign to fight for a vote-in spot at Summit 7, which will only hasten his rise back up to the highest level of play. If you're interested in supporting him on this endeavor, or just generally want to keep up with the man himself, you can follow him over on Twitter at FictionIRL. And that's about it for this video. I've been SaveAsUntitled, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.